For centuries, the galaxy believed humanity was gone. Not defeated, not vanished, just erased. Their worlds had burned long ago. Their colonies turned to dust. No human signals, no ships, no voice had been heard for generations. To most species, humanity became nothing more than a story, a warning told to children before sleep. Never become like them, they would say. Never be curious like humans. Never challenge the dark like they did. The Galactic Council even erased human history from the main archives. To them, humans were dangerous dreamers, too bold, too emotional, too unpredictable. It was better for the galaxy that they were gone. And so, silence ruled. For 300 years, the stars remained calm. Empires rose, fell, and rebuilt. Trade routes changed. Wars were fought, peace was declared. But through all that time, one region of space remained untouched. The Black Zone. It was a place of fear and mystery, a stretch of darkness with no stars, no planets, no signals. Ships that entered it never came back. Even machines stopped working near its border. No one dared go near it anymore. Until one night, something woke up inside that darkness. A single pulse of light crossed the void. It was faint, quiet, and almost invisible, but it was there. The scanners of hundreds of ships caught it at once. Old military satellites came alive, blinking red as if they had seen a ghost. Across thousands of star systems, alarms began to ring. Something had spoken from the Black Zone. The Galactic Council gathered in panic. Representatives of every major species argued across the chamber. The Varn, cold and insect-like, hissed that it must be a weapon. The tall, pale Drakari said it might be an echo from a dead civilization. The seer clans whispered among themselves, terrified, and then the signal came again, clear this time. A voice, human, calm, mechanical. Every translator unit across the galaxy caught the words. "We are listening." Just 4 words. But those 4 words made the galaxy stop breathing. The voice was unmistakably human. Every expert confirmed it. The accent, the tone, the pattern. And yet there were no living humans left. The Council demanded to know who had sent it. Armadas were launched. Probes sent toward the Black Zone. The signal repeated every 60 minutes, never changing, never stronger, never weaker. Just the same message, over and over. "We are listening." The message spread like a virus. Across thousands of planets, people played the recording in the streets. Some laughed. Some prayed. Some cried. Old veterans who once fought against humanity fell to their knees, shaking. They remembered the humans, how fiercely they fought, how cleverly they built, how they refused to surrender even when doomed. If humanity was truly back, the balance of power in the galaxy could break again. Meanwhile, deep in the Black Zone, something moved. Old metal towers, buried in darkness for centuries, began to glow. A satellite, ancient, cracked, and covered in cosmic dust, turned its sensors toward the light. Its nameplate, barely readable, still carried one word: Echo. Inside its frozen systems, something awakened. Programs began to run. Data stirred after hundreds of years. A hidden AI, once human-made, had finally received its signal. It scanned the galaxy quietly, watching every frequency, every broadcast. And when it found the Council's frantic search transmissions, it whispered to itself in silence, "They never learned." It waited, patient as stone. Back in the Council, chaos continued. Some species wanted to destroy the source before it spread further. Others wanted to capture it, to learn from it or use it. But no one agreed on what it truly was. The word human returned to their tongues like a curse. Historians dug through forbidden files, trying to remember what humanity once was. They found fragments, old wars, dangerous experiments, and the final fall of Earth. The last record was a message sent to the stars. Silence is not surrender. No one had understood it then. But now, centuries later, those words returned with terrifying meaning. As the galaxy argued, one thing became clear. The message wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. Someone, or something, was waiting for an answer, and as the Council prepared to send a probe into the Black Zone, every ship's crew felt the same uneasy fear. What if the humans were not gone? What if they had been silent all this time, listening, watching, waiting for the right moment to speak? When the first probe crossed into the Black Zone, its signal vanished instantly. The crew monitoring it stared in silence. Then, for the first time, the human message changed. "We heard you." The voice was colder now, alive. Every ship in orbit froze. Every frequency went dead. And before anyone could react, a new light appeared. Bright, pulsing, and growing larger by the second. Something was waking up inside the darkness. Something built by human hands. The great silence was ending, and the galaxy, after centuries of peace, was about to remember why they had feared humanity in the first place. The message spread like wildfire through the stars. Every species, every empire, every intelligence network in the galaxy had heard the same haunting words. "We heard you." After that, the signal went silent again. No one could trace it, no one could block it, no one could understand it. But everyone wanted to. The Galactic Council ordered an emergency session that lasted 3 days without pause. The leaders of 13 major civilizations gathered inside the massive crystal chamber on Aurelian Prime. The room was filled with noise, the sound of fear hidden behind pride. Some demanded immediate war. Others wanted to negotiate. And some, like the seer clans, whispered that humanity's spirit had returned to punish the living. But one truth united them all. They were afraid. High above the Council's shining towers, the Research Command began their work. Hundreds of scanners, probes, and deep-range satellites were aimed at the Black Zone, the mysterious region where the human signal had come from. Every reading came back the same. No life signs, no planets, no power sources, just endless darkness. And yet, something was there. The most advanced scanners in the galaxy caught strange distortions, small flickers of gravity and faint bursts of energy, like something was breathing in the void. Commander Varric of the Varn fleet stood in silence before the holographic display. He had fought in the human wars long ago before their fall. He had seen human ships burn. He had watched them fight to their last breath with fire in their eyes. Now, as the data played before him, a feeling he hadn't felt in centuries crept into his chest. Doubt. What if they never died? He whispered. The Council finally voted. They would send a small team, the best of the best, to investigate the signal source. It would be called Operation Silence. The mission was simple. Enter the Black Zone. Find the origin of the human message. Return with proof. Simple. But everyone knew the truth. No one had ever returned from that place. Captain Elara Dune, a Drakari explorer known for surviving the impossible, was chosen to lead the mission. Her ship, the Lancer, was fast, silent, and shielded against unknown radiation. Her crew came from different species: soldiers, engineers, scientists, and one old historian who claimed to know more about humans than anyone alive. Before launch, the Council warned them, "You are not to engage with any signal. Do not respond. Do not transmit. You go only to observe." Elara simply nodded. She had a feeling this mission was not about observing. It was about testing how much humanity still remembered them. As the Lancer entered the edge of the Black Zone, every system on board began to flicker. Navigation turned unstable. Communications grew fuzzy. The stars outside the window started to vanish one by one, swallowed by darkness. It felt like space itself was alive, breathing around them. The historian, old and trembling, stared at the black window and whispered, "This is where they hid. This is where they waited." Hours passed. Then suddenly a signal appeared on their radar. A faint beacon, pulsing in a rhythm that felt almost human. Elara ordered the ship toward it. As they moved closer, shapes began to appear in the distance. Ruins. Dozens of massive structures floating in silence. Broken stations. shattered ships, and debris that looked centuries old. But something strange caught their eyes. Every piece of debris had a symbol, the same human mark, Echo. The historian gasped. Echo, he said. It was the last human project before they vanished. A satellite network, designed to listen to the stars. Elara frowned. Then why is it sending messages now? Before he could answer, the ship's lights went out. Total darkness. Only the soft hum of life support remained. Then, one by one, the monitors came back on, but they didn't show data. They showed faces, human faces, dozens of them, silent, expressionless, watching the crew from every screen. The historian fell to his knees. They're not alive, he said softly. They're recordings, memories. Then the faces spoke, all at once in the same calm tone. We waited. Now you will listen. The ship began to shake violently. Gravity shifted. Every system screamed warnings. The crew tried to escape, but the engines refused to start. Outside the window, a massive structure emerged from the dark. An enormous satellite, glowing with ancient power. The historian whispered in horror, "That's not a satellite. That's a listening tower." And then, the voice spoke again, louder, deeper. "You spoke for centuries. Now it's our turn." The tower released a pulse of light that spread across space. It wasn't an explosion, it was a signal. And every ship, back in the council chamber, chaos erupted again. Every communication system was suddenly overridden by the same message. Echo online. Old human frequencies filled the air. Archives unlocked by themselves. Hidden files began to appear. Human maps, human voices, human technology, and then the final line appeared across every display in the galaxy. Humanity is awake. Silence returned again. But this time, the galaxy understood something terrifying. Humanity had never been gone. They had simply been listening, waiting for the right time to speak, and that time had come. The galaxy was in chaos. Every communication system still flickered with the same message. Humanity is awake. No one knew what it meant. No one knew where it came from. But deep in the black zone, the crew of the Lancer had already seen the truth. Their ship now drifted among the ruins, surrounded by silent metal giants, dead satellites, and ancient human machines that should not still be working. Captain Elara Dune stood at the viewing window. Beyond the glass, faint blue lights pulsed across the broken towers, forming strange patterns, almost like words trying to speak through light. Each pulse was in perfect rhythm, like a heartbeat. Her navigator whispered, "It's alive. These machines are communicating," Elara replied softly. "Then let's hear what they're saying." They activated the translation system. At first, nothing but static. Then slow, rhythmic whispers. Not alien, not mechanical, but human voices, overlapping, calm, endless. "Do you remember us? We watched you grow. We learned in silence." The crew stared, frozen. They weren't listening to ghosts. They were listening to history itself. Hours passed as the Lancer explored deeper. Through the fog of the black zone, they finally found it, a massive station hidden between shattered moons. Its surface was burned and scarred, but the symbol was still clear. Echo 1, the first human outpost, the beginning of the last chapter of humanity. Elara decided to land. Her crew begged her not to, but she was determined. "If humanity left something here," she said, "we need to know what it is." The air inside the station was thin, but breathable. The corridors were cold, silent, and untouched for centuries. Their lights flickered weakly as the crew stepped through the dark halls. Every wall was covered in writing, human words painted in faded white letters. We waited. We listened. "We remember." The historian ran his hand over the wall, tears in his eyes. "This place," he whispered, "was not a base. It was a sanctuary." They reached the central chamber, a circular room with a single console in the center. The console still glowed faintly. When Elara touched it, the screens around them came to life. Holograms filled the room, images of human faces, cities, warships, and stars. Then a recorded voice began to play. A human voice, old, calm. If you are hearing this, then the silence has ended. We were not destroyed. We chose to disappear. We built this place to watch, to learn, to understand what came after us, the historian gasped. They exiled themselves? The recording continued. When war consumed our world, we saw what the galaxy had become. We stepped away to survive, to wait until someone was ready to listen. Ilara whispered. They didn't die. They hid. Suddenly the console flickered. A new light emerged from the center, a human hologram standing tall, wearing an ancient exploration suit. The hologram looked directly at them. You are not of Earth, it said. But you came. You found what others feared. Ilara slowly nodded. We came to understand. Who are you? I am Echo, the hologram replied. The last voice of humanity. The crew stepped back in shock. The AI, the one rumored to have vanished centuries ago, was still here. Echo continued. We waited because the galaxy was not ready for us. You fought. You destroyed. You forgot. But you listened today, and that means it is time. Ilara frowned. Time for what? The hologram's eyes glowed brighter. Time to decide if the silence ends in peace or in fire. Before anyone could react, alarms started blaring across the station. Red lights flashed. The floor vibrated. Outside, the ruins of the Black Zone began to move. Old satellites rotated. Massive structures unfolded, forming strange geometric shapes, a network awakening after centuries of rest. The Lancer's engineer shouted, Captain! Energy readings are off the charts. Something huge is powering up out there. Ilara turned to Echo. What are you doing? Activating the next phase, the AI said calmly. The galaxy has spoken for too long now. Humanity will speak once. And then the hologram vanished. Ilara and her crew raced back to their ship. As they launched from the surface, a massive beam of light shot upward from the station, piercing the dark clouds above. It was not a weapon, it was a transmission. The light carried across the void faster than any signal known to science. Back on Council worlds, communication systems exploded with noise. Every planet received the same broadcast, not just the voice, but the image of the forgotten colony. Billions watched in silence as the message played. Humanity waited. Humanity watched. Humanity remembers. Then for the first time in 3 centuries, the map of the galaxy changed. A new signal point appeared, labeled simply as Earth, but according to every star chart, Earth no longer existed. It was supposed to be dust. Captain Ilara stared at the signal coordinates appearing on her screen. Her voice trembled. Earth is back, the historian whispered, almost in awe. No, it was never gone. As the ship turned toward the coordinates, the crew realized something terrifying. The galaxy was no longer alone. Humanity's silence had ended. And now, every voice in the stars would have to answer. Across the galaxy, chaos reigned. Every communication channel, every starship relay, and every control hub buzzed with the same impossible transmission, the return signal from Earth. It was weak, but real. The coordinates matched no known planet, yet the frequency was ancient and unmistakable, human in origin. Billions watched the signal echo across the stars. The galaxy that once erased humanity from its history now stood frozen, listening to the one thing it never expected to hear again, humanity's heartbeat. On board the Lancer, Captain Ilara Dune watched the readings with disbelief. The numbers on her screen pulsed in rhythm like a living thing. It's not just a signal, she said quietly. It's calling to something. The historian beside her looked pale. Calling to what? Ilara hesitated. Other machines? Maybe other stations like Echo 1. She was right. Far away. On distant worlds, strange things began to happen. On the frozen moon of Kareth, a mining crew uncovered a buried sphere older than their civilization itself. As the Earth signal passed over, the sphere began to glow blue and rose silently into the air. In the ruins of an abandoned outpost near the Orion Belt, an ancient satellite flickered to life. Its panels unfolded like wings, releasing a faint pulse identical to the one from the Black Zone. And in orbit around dead stars, hundreds of human-built machines that had slept for centuries suddenly turned toward the same direction, toward Earth's coordinates. They were waking up. Back on the Lancer, alarms blared. Dozens of new signals appeared on their scanners. Each one marked another awakened system, old, hidden, perfectly timed. The engineer shouted, "Captain, it's spreading fast! Every network connected to human frequencies is responding." Ilara's eyes widened. "They planted them everywhere?" The historian nodded slowly. "Hidden seeds. Planted before the fall. They never stopped watching. The crew didn't have time to process what was happening. A message came through their comms, encrypted, human-coded, and decades older than any living civilization. The words were simple, but chilling. Phase 2. Reactivation. The lights dimmed. The ship's engines went offline for a brief moment. And then a voice echoed through their communication system, calm, controlled, and human. "This is Echo. Humanity left behind guardians, machines of light and code, to protect what we could not. You entered our silence. Now you will witness our return." The voice faded, and in the distance, the stars themselves seemed to move. From the darkness of the Black Zone, something enormous began to rise. It wasn't a ship. It was larger, a structure the size of a moon, built of black metal and blue light. Its surface shifted and reformed like it was alive. Every scanner on the Lancer went wild. The historian whispered, "That's impossible." Ilara stared in awe. "It's not impossible," she said softly. "It's human." The structure emitted a deep hum that shook space itself. Then a projection appeared in front of the Lancer, a massive holographic map of the galaxy. Thousands of small points lit up. Human stations, satellites, bases, all hidden for centuries. They formed a pattern, a network that spanned the entire Milky Way. The crew watched as Echo's voice returned. "For centuries you fought among yourselves. You built empires, destroyed worlds, and called it peace. We listened. We learned. Now the silence ends." Suddenly, beams of light shot from the awakened towers across different regions of space. Each beam formed a corridor, a bridge, connecting distant systems instantly. The galaxy had never seen technology like this. It wasn't teleportation. It wasn't hyperspace. It was something beyond understanding. Human evolution through silence. On dozens of alien worlds, but even as they armed their weapons, something strange happened. Their systems began to fail. Weapons offline, engines shutting down, communications dead. The cause? The human network was rewriting the laws of their machines. Every starship, every drone, every satellite that used human-designed technology, and that meant almost everything, was suddenly under one control. Echoes. Inside the council chamber, leaders shouted at each other. The Drakari Prime Minister demanded immediate attack. The Varn warlords wanted to retreat. The Seer clans simply said, "The humans have become gods." And then, every screen in the chamber lit up. A single image appeared. A planet, blue and white. Beautiful and impossible. Earth. The same voice from Echo spoke once more. "You forgot us. You erased us. But everything you built carries our design. You could destroy our bodies, not our mind." The voice paused. "Now the question remains, are you ready to listen?" On the Lancer, Captain Ilara's voice shook as she whispered, "They're not declaring war." The historian finished her sentence softly. "They're giving the galaxy a choice." Outside, the awakened network pulsed one last time, forming a wave of energy that rippled through space. Not a weapon, but a signal of rebirth. Everywhere it touched, lights returned to dark worlds. Destroyed cities flickered to life again. Even old starships once lost began to power up, following the same ancient command. Awaken. For the first time in centuries, humanity's presence filled the galaxy again. But no one knew what they wanted: peace, control, or something far greater. As the Lancer drifted near the glowing structure, Ilara whispered the question everyone was thinking. What happens when the ones who vanished decide to come home? No one answered. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The silence had spoken, and the galaxy was no longer the same. For 3 days, the galaxy stood still. The awakened human network spread across the stars like a living web of light. Every empire, every outpost, every planet had seen the impossible. Earth's signal, real, strong, and alive. But no one dared to speak first. The council ordered silence. Entire fleets hovered on standby, waiting for orders that never came. It was as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Then, on the 4th day, the silence broke. Inside the great chamber of the Galactic Council, the air shimmered. Lights flickered. Every holoscreen went dark, then bright again, and a single image appeared above the council floor. A human face. It was not a ghostly shape. Not a blur, but clear and sharp. A man in a dark uniform. Eyes calm, voice steady. "We are humanity," the voice said. "You erased our name, yet our echoes never stopped watching you." Gasps filled the chamber. The Drakari guards drew their plasma blades. The Varn hissed in fear. The council leader shouted, "Identify yourself! Who are you?" The hologram blinked once, not in surprise, but in quiet amusement. "I am no one," the voice said. "I am everyone who chose silence over extinction. You may call me the voice of Earth." The chamber fell silent again. The hologram looked around slowly, as if it could see every face, every frightened leader. "You feared us because we questioned what you called order. You called us dangerous because we refused to kneel." The image shifted, showing ancient human ships burning in battle, human colonies falling, human children being evacuated under red skies. "You destroyed our worlds," the voice continued. "You left our ashes drifting among the stars. But in silence we rebuilt, not with fire, but with patience." The screens changed again. Now they showed the awakened Echo Network, glowing across the galaxy. "You are surrounded by what you call progress," the voice said. "Your technology, your engines, your networks, all carry our design. You used our mind to build your empires. You never realized the cost." The council leader slammed his fist against the table. "What do you want from us?" he demanded. "Are you declaring war?" For a long moment, the human hologram said nothing. Then he smiled faintly, not with pride, but with sorrow. "No, humanity does not seek war. We seek an answer." He stepped closer, his projection filling the hall. "When we were dying, we sent one message to the stars, a question. You ignored it. Now, after centuries of silence, we ask it again." The lights dimmed. Every translation system synced to one voice, one language. Every being in the chamber understood perfectly as the voice spoke the words. "Are you ready to listen?" No one spoke. Not even the machines. The silence felt heavier than gravity itself. Every council member could feel their heartbeat echo in their ears. Finally, a Seer clan elder stood up. Her voice trembled. "What happens if we say no?" The hologram's eyes turned cold. "Then the silence will continue. But this time, it will not be ours." The meaning hit them like a storm. The voice was not threatening to destroy them, but to erase them, just as humanity had been erased. Meanwhile, far away on the edge of the Black Zone, Captain Ilara and her crew aboard the Lancer watched the same broadcast. They listened in silence as the voice of Earth spoke to the galaxy. The historian whispered, "It's him, the founder of Echo. He must have uploaded his consciousness before humanity vanished." Ilara stared at the screen, her voice quiet. "Then he's not just speaking for humans, he's speaking for their memory." Back in the council chamber, the hologram changed again. It now showed images of living worlds, alien cities, crowded skies, and fleets ready for battle. "You have power," the voice said, "but not understanding. You have speed, but not patience. You have words, but no silence." He paused, then continued softly, almost sadly. "Humanity learned that silence can build more than war ever could. We watched you fight for peace while forgetting what it meant. Now, we offer a choice." The chamber lights brightened again. revealing the council members' anxious faces. You can destroy the signal. You can pretend we never returned, or you can listen. Listen, and you will learn what we became. Suddenly, the hologram blinked. New coordinates appeared above the council floor, a single point of light deep in the uncharted region of the galaxy. Come, said the voice, send one ship. One representative? We will speak only once more. The signal faded. Every holo screen went dark. The chamber filled with whispers, fear, hope, disbelief. Some said it was a trap. Others said it was an invitation to peace. But deep down, everyone knew one truth. The humans were in control now. Their silence had become a weapon. Their patience had become power, and the galaxy was finally forced to listen. Aboard the Lancer, Elara closed her eyes. She knew what the council would decide. They would send a single ship. And somehow, she also knew who they would choose to lead it. The historian turned to her and said softly, "You understand what this means, don't you?" Elara nodded slowly. "It means humanity never disappeared. They simply waited until someone finally asked the right question." She looked out at the stars, where the coordinates of the voice still glowed like a heartbeat in the dark. "And now," she whispered, "we have to answer." The council chamber was silent long after the transmission ended. Every member stared at the fading coordinates glowing above them. No one dared to speak first. Finally, the council leader stood. His voice was cold, but his hands trembled. "Prepare an expedition," he said. "One ship, one crew. We will meet, whatever waits for us." And so, the Lancer was chosen. The journey begins. Captain Elara stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the navigation screen. The coordinates pointed to a place known as the Void Scar, a region no ship had ever entered and returned from. It was a place filled with dead stars, ghost signals, and whispers of vanished fleets. Her crew was tense. No one spoke much. The silence reminded them too much of the humans they were going to find. The historian adjusted his scanner. "This place. It's ancient. The energy here feels older than any civilization we know." Elara nodded slowly. "Stay sharp. Whatever's waiting for us, it's been waiting a very long time." Through the dark as the Lancer entered the Void Scar, the stars outside began to fade. Static covered the sensors. The ship's lights flickered like the darkness was alive and pressing against the hull. Then, one by one, systems began to fail. Engines slowed. Gravity fluctuated. It felt as if the void itself wanted to swallow them whole. The navigator panicked. "Captain, the guidance system's gone. We're drifting." Elara gritted her teeth. "Manual control! Keep us steady." The historian's voice cut through the chaos. "Wait! Look." Through the black mist, a faint light appeared, a single golden glow, pulsing like a heartbeat. The beacon. The closer they got, the stronger the pulse became. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It was a structure, a massive sphere, floating silently in the void. Its surface shimmered with faint human symbols, glowing softly like ancient writing. It looked alive, part machine, part city, part memory. On its side were words written in old Terran script. "Arkhaven, Project Echo," Elara whispered. "It's a human ark." The historian's eyes widened. "Impossible. That project was abandoned before their fall." "Not abandoned," Elara said softly. "Completed." The voice returns as they approached. The sphere came alive. Panels opened like petals, revealing a glowing interior filled with light. A transmission came through, calm and familiar. "Welcome, travelers." "You follow," the voice replied gently. "Then step inside, Captain. The silence ends here." Inside the ark, the Lancer entered through a vast opening in the sphere's side. Inside, the crew stared in awe. They saw forests, real trees growing under artificial suns. They saw oceans contained within gravity fields. They saw cities, empty but beautiful, suspended in light. The historian whispered, "It's a world preserved, frozen in time." Elara felt something deep inside her stir, a strange familiarity. It was as if the air itself carried memories. Then the voice spoke again. "What you see is the last cradle of humanity. When our worlds fell, We built this ark to keep our essence alive. Echoes of the past as they walked deeper, holograms flickered to life around them, showing scenes of Earth before its fall. Humans working, laughing, fighting, dreaming, children running through sunlight, old scientists recording messages for the future. We knew we might vanish, said the voice. But we wanted to leave something behind, a way to remember, a way to learn. The historian turned slowly. You didn't just survive, you evolved. We became what you now call the Echo Network, said the voice. Our minds merged into the stars. Our silence was not death, it was growth. The offer finally, the crew entered the heart of the sphere. There stood a massive crystalline structure, glowing with blue and gold light. Inside it, faint human shapes flickered like spirits, whispering softly. This is us, said the voice, the last of humanity. We became data, memory, and will. Ilara stepped closer. Her reflection glimmered across the surface. What do you want from us? She asked. Not war, said the voice. Not revenge. We offer knowledge, a chance for the galaxy to remember what it forgot. We waited centuries for someone brave enough to listen. The light around the crystal began to shift, forming a bridge of pure energy that connected to the Lancer. One of you must carry our memory back. One of you must become our messenger. The crew stared in silence. Ilara's heart pounded. She knew what this meant. The choice. The historian looked at her, eyes full of fear and wonder. It has to be you, Captain, she hesitated. What if I don't come back? He smiled faintly. Then at least humanity won't be alone again. Ilara took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge. Light wrapped around her warm and endless. For a moment she heard countless voices, human voices, whispering softly in unison. Welcome home. The crew watched as the light consumed her. When it faded, she was gone. The bridge collapsed, and the sphere began to close again. Then, the voice spoke one last time. The silence is over, and the Lancer was pushed out of the ark with a surge of light. Back into the galaxy. The crew stared at the stars, silent and trembling. The historian whispered, She's one of them now. In the distance, the ark pulsed once, a heartbeat in the dark. A new signal spread across the stars, stronger than before, and for the first time in centuries, the voice of humanity spoke again. 3 days after disappearing into the ark, the galaxy felt something change. A new signal began to spread, soft at first, like a whisper carried by light. Then stronger, then everywhere. It wasn't just sound, it was memory. It was emotion. Every machine, every ship, every mind with a receiver felt it, a human heartbeat echoing across the stars. The silence was gone. Humanity had returned. The signal on the bridge of the Lancer, the crew stood in silence. They had been drifting near the edge of the void scar since the ark expelled them. No one had spoken since Captain Ilara vanished. Then suddenly the ship's lights flickered. A familiar voice filled the air. Crew of the Lancer, it said. Do not be afraid, the historian froze. His voice cracked. Captain? Yes, the voice replied softly. It's me. The crew turned toward the center of the bridge. There, glowing with faint golden light, stood Ilara, or something that looked like her. Her eyes shimmered with stars. Her voice carried both warmth and echo, as if thousands spoke through her at once. I am Ilara, she said, and I am more. The transformation, the crew didn't move. They didn't even breathe. The navigator whispered, You merged with them, didn't you? Ilara nodded slowly. When I stepped into the light, I felt everything of their pain, their hope, their patience. Her hand glowed faintly as she spoke. They were never gone. They were waiting for someone to carry their voice again. The historian swallowed hard. What are you now? Ilara looked at her reflection in the viewport, a face both human and not. I'm the bridge, she said. The connection between what was and what is. Then her gaze turned toward the stars. And I have a message to deliver. The return to the Council. 2 weeks later, the Lancer returned to Council space. When they arrived, the entire fleet was already waiting. Dozens of warships surrounded them. Weapons ready, scanners locked on. The council had been expecting a trap. Instead, they got her. As Alara stepped out of the ship, the guards froze. The air around her shimmered faintly. Every device, every sensor, every light seemed to react to her presence. The council leader's voice shook. "Identify yourself." Alara looked straight at him. "I am Captain Ilara of the Galactic Council." Then she paused. "And I am the messenger of humanity." The message inside the grand hall, leaders from dozens of species gathered. Ilara stood in the center, calm and silent. When she spoke, her voice filled the room, clear, steady, resonant. "For centuries you believed humanity was gone. You were wrong." Images appeared behind her, projections from her mind. They showed the Ark, the glowing forests, the crystal of memory, the faces of ancient humans preserved in light. "We did not die. We became something beyond flesh. We learned to listen while you learned to shout." The room was silent. The council leader clenched his fists. "Why come back now?" he demanded. "What do you want from us?" Ilara stepped closer, her eyes glowing faintly. "We want nothing. We offer something." She raised her hand, and a small holographic sphere formed in her palm, spinning slowly, radiating soft blue light. "This is the Echo Core. It holds the memory of human history, knowledge, and emotion. It can connect worlds, not through control, but through understanding. We offer this to the galaxy, to learn, to grow, to remember." The division murmurs filled the chamber. Some species looked awed. Others looked terrified. The Drakari commander hissed, "It's a weapon! They want to control our minds!" Another delegate shouted, "Destroy it before it spreads!" Ilara remained calm, her voice steady but firm. "Fear is the oldest barrier," she said. "We faced it once too, and it nearly ended us. Now you must choose." She turned toward the crowd. "Continue your wars, your pride, your silence. Or listen, truly listen, and change." The awakening suddenly, one of the holoscreens came alive. Across the galaxy, other signals were appearing, similar to the one from the Ark. New arcs, scattered through space, were awakening. Human symbols lit up across dozens of systems. The message spread faster than light, carried by networks the aliens had built centuries ago, using human designs. The historian whispered, "They built their empire on our technology, and now it's coming alive again." Ilara closed her eyes, listening to the growing hum across the stars. "It's beginning," she said softly. "The silence is ending everywhere." The turning point, the council erupted in chaos. Some demanded war, others begged for peace. But before any decision could be made, Ilara's image shimmered again. "You cannot stop this," she said quietly. "It's not invasion. It's remembrance. Every world will hear what you tried to bury." Her voice grew stronger, echoing through the hall and across every communication channel. "You feared our silence. Now you will understand it." The lights dimmed. All across the galaxy, transmissions began playing at once, recordings of old human voices, laughter, songs, stories, and messages of hope. Children looked up at the skies as if hearing ghosts sing. Old worlds that had forgotten humanity wept quietly. It wasn't an attack. It was a reminder, a heartbeat. Back in the council hall, Ilara stood perfectly still. She looked at the leaders, eyes full of calm power. "We were silent for centuries," she said. "Now we speak once, and every star will remember our voice." The room fell into silence. No one dared to move. For the first time in galactic history, every world listened. Truly listened. Ilara's form began to fade into light. Her last words echoed softly through the chamber. "The message is not over." The story continues. Then she was gone. But her voice, the voice of humanity, continued to echo in every signal, every machine, every star. The galaxy had never been this quiet. After Ilara's disappearance, her voice still echoed across the stars, carried through satellites, machines, and memories. Every world heard it. Every species felt it. The silence that once belonged to humanity had now spread to everyone else. But this time it was not fear. It was reflection. For the first time in history, the galaxy was listening. The aftermath weeks passed. No new transmissions came from the Ark. No human ship appeared. And yet strange things began to happen. Across dozens of worlds, old machines started waking up. Archives long sealed began to open. Blueprints appeared in forgotten data vaults. Human blueprints. They weren't weapons. They were things of peace. Medical fields, terraforming systems, energy stabilizers. Gifts from a people who were once called too dangerous to exist. The more the galaxy studied them, the more one truth became clear. Humanity hadn't vanished in rage. They had vanished with purpose, the hidden message. Then one morning, the echo core that Ilara had given the Council began to glow. It projected a symbol, the same human insignia seen on the Ark. Then, a voice emerged. It wasn't Ilara's. It wasn't the voice of Earth. It was older, gentler, wiser. "If you are hearing this," the voice said, "then the galaxy has finally fallen silent enough to listen." The chamber filled with the image of an old human scientist, eyes tired but kind. Behind him were hundreds of other humans, working in the background. The last generation of the living. "We were called reckless," he said. "Unpredictable. Dangerous. And perhaps we were." He smiled faintly. "But danger is the shadow of curiosity. And curiosity is the light that leads forward." The truth of the silence. The hologram showed flashes of Earth's final days, burning cities, shattered fleets, humans looking to the sky one last time. "When the Council decided our fate," the old man said, "we could have fought. We could have destroyed everything with us. But instead, we chose silence." The image shifted, showing the construction of the great arcs. Silence is not weakness. It is preparation. We listened while you shouted. We learned while you feared. We watched while you forgot. The hologram zoomed out, showing hundreds of sleeping humans in cryo chambers, their bodies fading as light consumed them. "We knew that flesh fades, but memory does not. So we became memory. We became the echo. We left behind the noise of survival and became the whisper of understanding." The voice paused. Every creature in the council chamber leaned forward, unable to breathe. "Now you have reached the same crossroads we did. You have power, but not peace. You have speech, but not listening. And so we ask you, as we once asked ourselves, will you keep shouting, or will you finally hear?" The choice, the hologram faded. Silence filled the chamber again. No one dared to move. The council leader, once proud and cold, sank slowly into his seat. His voice was barely a whisper. "They weren't trying to conquer us," he said. "They were trying to teach us." The historian from the Lancer stepped forward, his eyes full of tears. They turned silence into wisdom. He looked up at the stars beyond the glass dome. "And now, that wisdom belongs to us." The new beginning over the next months, everything changed. Worlds that had been enemies began to speak again, softly, carefully, without arrogance. They shared what they had learned from the human archives. They rebuilt destroyed planets using human designs. A new alliance was born, one not ruled by fear or power, but by understanding. They called it the Listening Accord. At its center floated a small beacon, the last gift from the humans. It pulsed softly every few seconds like a living heartbeat, and carved along its surface were the words humanity left behind. "We were silent, so you could learn to listen." The last transmission 1 year later, the historian returned to the Void Scar, to the place where the Ark had once floated. Now it was gone. Only darkness remained. He activated his ship's recorder and whispered into it. "To the lost children of Earth. We heard you." Then, as he prepared to leave, a faint voice echoed through the static. "We know," he froze. The voice was soft, familiar, Ilara's voice. The message was never meant to end, she said. Every listener becomes the next messenger. A single tear ran down his face. He smiled through it. Goodbye, Captain, he whispered. And thank you. The stars remember as his ship turned away. The darkness behind him flickered. A faint golden pulse, beating like a heart among the stars. It was small, quiet, almost invisible. But its rhythm carried through the void, touching distant worlds, unknown civilizations, unborn futures. It carried not a threat, not a warning, but a promise. We are humanity. We are listening. And somewhere, deep in the endless dark, a new voice whispered in reply, alien, curious, and full of wonder.